All right, welcome in to episode 26 of Two Man Game. I am Damon. That is Dom. This is our podcast. How are you doing, Dom? Well, I kind of know how you're doing, but let's tell the viewer, the listener, how you're doing.
I'm doing the best I've ever been in my life, except I'm a little sick, but it's okay. Because I get to talk hoops now, and also after the All-Star break, we finally got basketball back, and it's kind of cool because now people are kind of being competitive. The playoff race is coming up quick. The West is looking insane and stacked. So, currently have Lakers Warriors on right now. Watch Suns Mavericks earlier. But yeah, I'm doing good. I am excited for the weekend. Got some shows up coming up, getting ready for that. But
Mm,
more importantly, how are you doing? And how is laser tag?
Not more importantly, equally important. I'm doing well. You mentioned laser tag. Yes, I those listening to the pod, if you're not aware, I'm a teacher at a school. We had a field trip to a laser tag place, and it was pretty fun. I ranked second in overall in our last game, so that was awesome. I was treating it like a action movie or like a first person shooter. Like I was walking through and then like I had my gun tilted and I was like tilting around corners and stuff. I was like, this is
Did you put your back against the wall and like do some peek
I
arounds and like
absolutely did that several times because like multiple people are shooting at me and I was like, okay, I gotta hide right here for a second. I'm gonna come out and blast them or whatever. But it was
and
really fun.
you definitely tried to combat roll, right? But I'm pretty sure on laser tag you have the pack,
You
so if
have
you
the
do it, you like
yeah.
crush it.
The thing is
Like,
when
why is it destroyed? I didn't try to roll in it, that's for
uh,
sure.
thing weighed like 15 pounds, like giant
Yeah,
vest with a gun attached to it. It was
man, I have not played laser tag in forever, but next time
it was really
Next
fun.
time I'm in Austin, we got to go back.
Multi-leveled. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Dude, love that. It's my favorite type. Where it's just, and especially when everyone's in it to win it. Like it's not just like
Hmm
a bunch of 2-year-olds and then a bunch
There,
of like 40 year
there
olds.
was a lot of 2 year old. There was like a 6 year old's birthday party or something. There was like 26 year olds running around in there.
On
And
a
then
on a
also our kids, which was like middle school and high school, like 20 of us. So it was like 26 year olds and 20 of us. But it was all mixed.
like
It was three different teams. It was all mixed with all the kids.
yeah.
So it wasn't like us versus the 6 year olds. It was kind of a mix.
So 6-year olds on a Thursday?
Yeah,
Aren't they
I don't
supposed to
know.
be?
They're like,
What
all
is
right,
happening?
this people, this party, your laser tag game's ready. Oh, and also you guys too. And it's like, oh, okay.
I'm
So
like, who? Okay,
so
that
it's
was
like a
cool.
bunch of tiny children and then me and another teacher and then our like high schoolers and middle schoolers that we were with.
Well, I'm proud of you for getting second because if you didn't get second, that would have been kind of I would have had to say something,
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
pod. But
I was
proud of
happy.
you. Yeah,
I was profusely sweating at the end. I was like, it was
good.
so warm in there. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. I
That's
don't
the one thing I
know.
don't miss. It's like super dark. It kind of feels sometimes like it's an enclosed space,
Hmm
and it's usually really hot because there's just like 30 people in there sweating so much.
Yeah,
Um,
it was pretty hot.
I do miss that.
But yeah, it was nice. I'm glad to be here talking basketball with you as well post All-Star break. We're gonna get to All-Star weekend later in the podcast. So stick around if you're curious of our thoughts there. We're gonna talk about the problem with All-Star weekend later. Um,
Apparently, there's two because you have one you really want to talk about, and I have one I really want to talk
Mine is
about.
multi-tiered. It is not one problem. It is a
Mine is
lot.
one.
It is a
Mine is
lot.
one. So make sure you stick around. Stick around because you
Stick
got to hear
around.
this.
We'll get there. We're gonna hit some news, some other stuff first, and we'll get there. But glad both of us are here and talking, discussing hoops. You got basketball on. I was at Blazer Tag, so I did not have basketball on. I did check and see that the Rockets got absolutely massacred by the Pelicans, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get to
Speaking
it.
of,
But
I'm
yeah, we're repping both our teams
I'm
this time, which
donning
is
a
pretty
Rockets
cool.
dry fit shirt that I will probably wear tomorrow to staff basketball practice.
Awesome.
Because dry fit is like once I discovered dry fit was a thing, I was like, I will never wear anything else to play basketball in because it's like nice and light and breezy, not like a cotton t-shirt.
Dude, you know what is wild? I hate the feeling of dry fit. I I absolutely hate like that thin material feeling. Like it's supposed to make you feel better because it's like you're a little bit lighter,
Hmm
but I prefer like just wearing like a big oversized like cotton shirt when I play or do anything active.
Oh,
Because I feel like it's too tight. Like the dry fit, it just gets stuck on like my shoulders and stuff.
I
But
don't wear it anywhere else. I only wear it to do athletic, whatever, basketball most there,
and podcasting.
and podcasting. So I was like, well, I'm episode 26. I've worn a lot of clothes and I haven't repeated a single thing yet. So I got to start pulling out some stuff from the bottom of the drawer here.
Which is what I did today. I grabbed my Lakers Western Conference Championship hat from 2020.
Ah,
As soon as they bought, as soon as they won the Western Conference Finals versus the Nuggets in the bubble, I bought a pennant which hangs in my bathroom, and I bought this hat. And then I didn't even think after I ordered it, I realized, wait, they might win the finals too. So I ordered a shirt when they won the finals, which I'm like, oh, that's cool. But no, I'm like, but I kind of like it's like a relic. Like no one would have a Western
a
Conference
Western
championship.
Conference, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm proud of this hat. I like to wear it. This is probably the Lakers hat I wear the most, honestly, because it's
Well, not anymore because you got a new hat.
well, yeah, that's true. Actually, I actually don't wear a lot of. Well, actually, I have worn hats recently because it's been raining. So I do have a snapback hat that I will wear at some point. But yeah, I'm glad we're both repping our teams this time. This is pretty cool
Not
because I
even
still have quite a bit.
not even the
Yeah, not
Magic
even planned.
Johnson Western Conference Championship MVP or whatever. Isn't it like Magic Johnson is the West MVP and Larry Bird is the East MVP? Isn't that like a recent thing that they did?
Like a hat or something.
No, no, no. I mean like the MVP of the conference finals gets like the Magic Johnson Western Conference MVP.
Oh, I don't know.
I wonder if they
I'm gonna be
incorporate
honest.
that into merchandise.
I wonder. I'm sure there's some kind of way of doing that. But I don't own it yet, but one day I will.
Anyways,
Anyways,
speaking of the
so
Lakers,
speaking of the Lake, we're gonna dive into Lakers, or we got some news first.
uh, okay. Before we get into the Lakers,
Oh
uh,
yeah,
I forgot I put this even before that. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because it's not NBA related, but it is basketball related. Um,
absolutely.
so Caitlin Clark, who goes to Iowa, broke the NCAA women's all-time scoring record, which was previously held by Kelsey Plum. I don't remember the exact number. It's like 3,548 points or something like that, which for
It's
college,
crazy.
it's only like 4 years. So like that's a lot of points in 4 years. Um, and the shot, if you haven't seen it, I would go watch it. I would go watch the game highlights. It was in Iowa, which is cool in front of the home crowd. Tickets for that game were like $330 because it's like a expected event. In the game, she had a career high 49 points. So not only did she break the scoring record for all of NCAA, but she also scored a career high and an Iowa high, um, and that as well. So a lot of things. They also had 13 assists, so just overall great game. Probably one of the more hyped prospects, I think, coming into the WNBA. We'll talk about another one of those people a little later when we get to the All-Star um, events and such. But it was just a cool thing. Cool that it's cool that it was like a national story because I feel like women's basketball doesn't get a ton of coverage, generally speaking. So it was like
Yeah.
a big deal for a lot of people. And I was like, oh, yeah, worth mentioning, worth talking about. Very cool for her.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congrats to her. And I actually love the fact that she had 13 assists, which means she wasn't like point like seeking, like she wasn't going out trying to like score 50 points or whatever. Like she just let the game come to her, and the game said, "All right, you get 49 points and 13 assists."
Yeah.
So love that. And fun fact as well, my dad used to work at Iowa State, not
Mm,
Iowa, but Iowa State University, and they were rivals, the Cyclones from Iowa State and the Hawkeyes from Iowa. But like you said, I do love that, finally in the news there is some not just women's basketball professional, but it's college. That's
yeah.
pretty cool. I'm glad that they are talking about it. And do we know is she? I don't know how the WNBA works. Is she going to declare for the draft? Do you know anything about that? Is she going to be in the WNBA next year, or is it like?
Uh, yeah, I think it's similar to men's basketball where like um you can declare if you want after a certain amount of time. Like I know
Yeah.
another prospect, her name's Paige Beekler. I think I said that right. She goes to UConn and she was like super, super good, and then she had like a bad injury like last year. So I know she actually just announced she's going back to UConn. She said this is not gonna be my last senior night. So I was like, okay, so you're gonna be like a fifth year senior, I guess, next year. Interesting. Um, but like Caitlin Clark, I she's 22, I know.
Okay.
I think she is like a senior in college. So I think a lot of people in WNBA or in the WNCAA rather, um, do like 4-year degrees and then go
Yeah,
and like then go into the WNBA rather than like a lot of NBA is like one and done. Um,
yeah, which makes I think that makes a lot more sense. Just the reality of it being, the WNBA is not as popular, and it's good for you to have. I think personally, everyone should get an education,
yeah, I
get
mean a
that
lot of
4-year
NBA players
degree.
go back and get it
Yeah,
later, and some do it. Like
yeah,
I think Steph graduated from Davidson during his career. Uh,
yeah, he
so
did, and
like
yeah, and even interesting. I'm reading a book right now written by Phil Jackson. Kobe, who didn't even go to college,
to the league right
he
after
took
high
some
school.
classes. Yeah, he took some classes at USC when he was on the Lakers
Mm.
early in his career. So I thought that was cool. A little note I didn't know about Kobe. So, but yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I heard about it. I didn't know about it right before the pod. Damon told me to look at the shot, and the shot is very slick. It was a very good shot. So yeah, very happy for her. Okay, on to the NBA. On to stuff I know about. The Lakers,
Do you?
who are currently playing. I know a little bit. I don't know as much as I wish I did.
Mm.
But so Lakers went on a little win streak at the end. I think they won the last three right before the All-Star game. They're currently 30 and 26.
Yeah, I think they were 8-3 or something.
Yeah, and the last 11, yeah, they've been doing a lot better, kind of looking like their last year after All-Star break selves.
Hmm.
And they beat the Jazz without LeBron. They played who did they play right before the Jazz? The Pistons, which
Mm.
they who they beat. But we have some injuries I just want to talk about real quick. So Christian Wood is going to be out for approximately 2 weeks with swelling in his left knee. Vanderbilt is still out. Gabe
Hmm.
Vincent's still out, and actually LeBron is sitting out this game.
I saw
Uh,
that.
yeah, which I didn't know about, but yeah, he's sitting out this game with some knee issues. So hopefully it's just minor, and they are confident enough with Anthony Davis taking, leading the charge to take on the Warriors. They're currently right now ninth and 10th, and the Warriors are behind the Lakers like 3 games, but still it's, anything could happen.
It's gonna be a crazy 9-10 play-in matchup right there.
Yeah, I mean, what's wild is I feel like the Warriors and Lakers have seen each other quite a bit in the playoffs these last few years. If it was in the play-in, then it was in the playoffs like last
Hmm.
year. So, but yeah, besides that, the you're talking about some trade deadline stuff. I know we mentioned last time Spencer Dinwiddie is on the Lakers now, number 26, and this is our 26th episode. So I want to bring that up again. That
The
was kind of
Spencer
cool.
Dinwiddie episode.
A Spencer Dinwiddie episode, and actually he's been looking pretty good on the Lakers. I think he played like 15 minutes and he got like 10 points, 4 assists against the Jazz, which is very solid for that. Especially without LeBron, there's another ball handler on the court.
Mm.
But some drama that happened, not really drama, but something that happened, which you sent me, which I was like, I can't believe this actually happened. The Warriors tried to trade for LeBron before the trade deadline.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I'll go into some details, but when you read that, what are your thoughts?
Um, it seems almost like a clickbaity kind of thing. Like it's like, oh, okay, this is real. This is like someone trying to get attention. And then I realized I'm reading a post from Adrian Wojnarowski, so I'm like, wait a minute, this is a real thing. And I was kind of just like, what's the context here?
Yeah,
Like what? How did the Warriors think this was possible? And why did it become a story? Was kind of like my initial reaction. I actually listened to it was the Low Post with Zach Lowe. He had Ramona Shelburne on, who covers the Lakers quite a bit. And they kind of talked some details, so I learned a little more details, and I was like, okay, and I can go into that. But my first reaction was just kind of like, why? uh,
yeah, that was my reaction as well. I thought it was just like everyone whenever there is someone who is on the market, Lakers always kind of come up, and Warriors are a big team, kind of rivals in the West right now, of course. Like they'll try to trade for LeBron, whatever. So, Jeannie Buss, owner of the Lakers, and Joe Lacob,
yep.
owner of the Warriors, um, they Jeannie Buss told Joe that to ask LeBron like what he wanted, right? So Rich Paul, who is LeBron's agent, works for Clutch Sports, told the Warriors that LeBron wanted to say a Laker, which makes so much sense to me. It's
Mhm.
also worth noting that it wasn't just a quick call and decline from the Lakers because conversations did take place over like 24 hours. So really would have thought this was a call like, "Hey, Rich Paul, is LeBron interested?" And like, what? No, absolutely not. Hang up. But apparently it was more than that. So yeah, very interesting. I'm glad it didn't happen because it wouldn't have made a lot of sense. I don't know what the Lakers would have gotten. Kaminga, Pojivski, maybe like Andrew Wiggins. It's like, how does that compare? And
Yeah,
also, like LeBron is like he is in LA. He's still the player. It's like trading Steph Curry. It's like you're not gonna trade them. If they want to leave, they'll leave at their own accord.
yeah, so when I was listening to the thing, the low post about this, apparently it was a Joe Lacob called and was like, hey, we're struggling, you're struggling, what's going on? And I guess Jeannie Buss is kind of known as like an owner that's trying to keep people happy. So she was like, okay, well, ultimately I just want LeBron to be happy. So she was like, before you can really even talk to me about this, like you gotta get like LeBron, I guess it's like a no trade clause, I imagine. So it was like you gotta talk to LeBron and figure out what he wants to do. Um, and like if you somehow manage to get LeBron on board, then we can start discussing the package. So it never even got to a point where there was a package of players
Yeah,
involved. It was just like a feelers, and then I guess then Joe Lacob went for LeBron, asked him, and I'm sure LeBron definitely there's some desire in there. It's like, oh yeah, playing with Steph, oh that'd be really cool.
yeah,
But I think, like you mentioned, LeBron is one of the people that I don't think will ever be traded. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think LeBron, his whole career has been, the decider of his own destiny. He went to the Heat and he made a whole big like ESPN thing about it. It was called The Choice, where he announced it, and it was super dramatic. And then he was like, "I'm returning to Cleveland," won the championship there, and then the Lakers was kind of like his getting ready for his post NBA life and all that, making sure his son
yeah.
to like really good schools. So it was all calculated, and all done in free agency. So I don't think something like that would have ever happened, but it is just interesting that like they talked about it and they talked about it for like you mentioned over a day basically. Um it's just weird. It's weird to me.
Yeah, I definitely would not have imagined that was a thing. But obviously nothing happened, thankfully. I don't think it would have been a good idea I'm imagining whatever package it would have been wouldn't have been good for either team in the long run. Like it probably just would have like maybe the Warriors were good this year, but then next year they're just, anyways. It didn't
Yeah.
happen. That's a big thing. But interesting that it was a thing. It would not have been on my like bingo list for 2024 like a LeBron trade rumor,
Hmm.
it would not have been on there.
Yeah, and
um
you had the stuff
no,
with like LeBron being like, I always thought about playing for the Knicks. It's like saying stuff like that. I think people are just kind of making stories out of
yeah, and then
like
the
something like
hourglass
that.
people
The
are
hourglass.
it's
LeBron
just
being
like
so
look at the
dramatic. And then the Lakers made
yeah,
zero trades. Um
yeah, we just
so
signed somebody, yeah. Anyways, I don't know, but let's talk about the Rockets. I want to hear about the Rockets a little
enough about the 9 seed. Let's talk about the 11 seed, 12 seed. I don't remember what the Rockets are.
bit.
Um, so I'm gonna make this quick because I don't want to talk about the Rockets right now. We had one game before the All-Star break that we hadn't covered on our last pod, and that was against the Grizzlies, who of course are missing I was about to say Steven Adams. That guy's not on their team anymore. Uh, Desmond
Oh
Bain
yeah,
still
he's on the
out.
Rockets.
He's on the Rockets, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we got cooked by GG Jackson and Vince Williams, basically.
They're
Um,
12th.
they're 12th. Okay. I was so confused because your hands were backwards. You were doing 2-1. So I was like,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like,
I,
what does
I
that
I was
mean?
trying to figure out like what way to you would look right, but I realized I'm not mirrored. So,
Um,
anywho,
I was like, what signal is this? I don't understand.
yeah, we're calling plays during the podcast.
But yeah, we were only missing Fred VanVleet, and Amon Thompson was actually looking pretty good as a starter. But now this game against the Pelicans I mentioned earlier, we lost by 22. When everybody was back and healthy. So that's where the Rockets are at right now. I think, we don't have our own pick, which kind of sucks. We're gonna miss the play and about what I expected. But the Nets, whose pick we do have, and we'll get into them in a bit. Um, we do have their pick, so hopefully they slide further down the standings as well. So we have something. But yeah, not much to say about the Rockets. We're doing about as bad as I expected after having a decent start to the season. We're slumping quite dramatically.
Yeah, I mean the West is so stacked too. Like, and maybe in any other year it'd be different, but especially just kind of running out of steam, young players. So this is probably what's best for the team, anyways. Getting ready kind of for next year, figuring out the rotations and all that. And the good thing is there's a lot of great young players on the team, so it's not like there's no hope for the future, right? It is just the way it is right now.
Hmm. I agree.
Um, yeah, but thank you for the update. Let's talk
No
about
problem.
some player drama. Let's talk
Some
about
player drama, starting with a former
my
Rocket legend.
absolutely, and currently on one of my favorite team in the NBA, of course, the LA Clippers.
Clip it, clip it. He said it.
Clip it, clip it. So PJ Tucker, Rockets legend, Heat legend, Bucks legend, 76ers legend overall. And
UT
Bones
legend.
Highland. Oh, I forgot. He keep forgetting he went to UT. That's so funny. Um, so PJ Tucker and Bones Highland were sent home from the Clippers road trip before the All-Star break due to frustrations they expressed about playing time. So I remember reading about this, and I haven't been watching a lot of Clippers, but I kind of forgot PJ Tucker was on the team because he hasn't been getting any playing time.
Right.
So because of his complaints, he was fined $75,000 from the NBA for expressing publicly that he wants to be traded. Um, they're both expected to rejoin the team after the break, and I can tell you, I watched a little bit. They played the Thunder today. I did see Bones Highland playing, although it was garbage time minutes.
Mm.
Did not see PJ Tucker, but I'm sure he was on the bench. But what do you think about players complaining about playing time and that kind of stuff?
Well, PJ Tucker's 37 years old and makes way more money than he should, so stop complaining. Be on the bench, support your guys, be a cheerleader if you need to. Your team is like the second best team maybe in the NBA right now. Since the James Harden trade, I know seeding wise they're not second, but I mean in terms of how they've been playing, how hot they've been. They've been like I want to say 25-5 or something like that since the Harden trade, like a ridiculous record. So your team is clearly doing well. You have Kawhi and Paul George who kind of play a similar position as BJ Tucker, on the forward spots. And then you have other guys come off the bench, fill in the gap too. It's not like you're on a bad team and you're like, I should be getting minutes and I'll help us win. You're on a team that's doing really well. So like contribute to that chemistry rather than ruining it. Bones Highland, it kind of sucks because I feel for him a little more because he was on the Nuggets, who were a championship contender, and has the Clippers, who are a championship contender. And he's just a young player that wants to develop, and he's not really getting the shot. So I understand where he's coming from, because he wants to kind of show that he can do it. He hasn't been given that chance, but you got some guys in your team, James Harden specifically playing a similar position, Russell Westbrook even off the bench that I think you can learn a lot from. So just take the opportunity and develop, and hopefully you'll get your shot because all those guys are old, so they'll they'll be out eventually, and then maybe you can slide in the rotation, but learn from them while you're there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think PJ Tucker, especially, like another comment he made was, "I didn't ask to be traded. I didn't ask to be here." It's like, do you think if you're on the 76ers, you'd be playing minutes? And like, there's a lot of people in that there's a lot of really good forwards there that play your position that aren't 37 too. So, I don't know exactly where he's coming from. Like you said, he's making quite a bit of money. So, I think they should be. I think it's a little bit ridiculous to me that there are such big fines for expressing your opinion, but I guess um it's more of a morale thing, right, for the team. Like the last thing you want is a player to be on your team saying, "I don't want to be here." So I think it's supposed to discourage that. Bones Highland,
You
I feel
familiar
a
with
little
the Eric Bledsoe meme? I don't want to be here.
no.
Apparently, I think it was when he was on the Suns really early in his career. He tweeted, "I don't want to be here," and people were like started clowning on him for it. And I think he got fined as well in the NBA. He was like, "I was at the salon with my wife." I was
Yeah.
like,
I was like, how do you know he meant like that's so like general. He could be anywhere, so he doesn't want to be here. Um, I didn't know that. That's funny though. Did you notice he kind of just fell out of the NBA
dude,
rotations? Like he was
he was on the Bucks, and then he got traded, and then he was done. His career
I
was over.
last he was like on Pelicans and then Clippers, and then it was just like I never heard from him again. Also like Devontae Graham. I don't know. That's
Devontae
random.
Graham is on the Spurs, I think.
Yeah, but like he's not playing. But I
He
just
played
think
when
of
I
him.
went to the Spurs game. I think. I think. I think he was on the Spurs.
Anyway, sorry, I digressed. But Bones Highland, I feel a little bit differently about because I've seen him play minutes live as well, and think the reason why he's not being played is because he has still a lot to learn.
Hmm.
Like when he does play kind of selfishly, and he does have quite a few turnovers. Like what I watched from today, like it was garbage time, sure, but he had like two turnovers just from mishandling the ball.
Mm.
So, kind of hope that maybe I think a big reason why he left the Nuggets too was attitude, right? There was something about
Yeah, I
his
think it was
attitude.
similar. Like he was unhappy about his role, essentially. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he's a good player. I really hope he understands and kind of matures into a player that just learns from the older ones. And like you said, he will get minutes at some point. He's a very good player. I just hope that he kind of learns to play within the system than on his own.
Hmm.
But But yeah, that was an interesting thing that happened before the All-Star break.
Player drama. Speaking of player drama,
What else?
let's get into this thing. So, I guess this was before the All-Star break. I want to say it was on Valentine's Day. Actually, Isaiah Stewart and Drew Eubanks, two NBA legends. Isaiah Stewart for the Pistons, Drew Eubanks for the Suns. If you're unaware, they are at the stadium in Phoenix hours before the game. Are they have some sort of exchange in the tunnels. As it gets very heated, they get chest to chest, and then apparently Isaiah Stewart kind of sucker punches Drew Eubanks, and he was like bleeding from his mouth. And then as soon as the punch happened, security like got in, separated the two, and Isaiah Stewart got arrested for assault. And he got a citation for it and then was released. The Phoenix Municipal Court, they set a date of today, actually, 2/23, for the charge to kind of address it. And then, interestingly enough, today, the prosecutors said, actually, never mind. We're dismissing it. We don't want to deal with it anymore. Which I thought was weird, and then the NBA right after suspended Isaiah Stewart for 3 games. So I wonder, you know, was there some talk with Drew Eubanks? Was there some talk with the Phoenix Suns? The Phoenix Suns came out immediately in support. They're like, whatever he wants to do, we'll do. Um, I wonder like if the NBA was like, hey, like, don't arrest our players. Can we find out a way to can we do this without the law and stuff? I don't know because it seems like Drew Eubanks spoke about it and was like, yeah, he just sucker punched me, so like screw that guy or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what happened for the prosecutor to be like, actually, let's dismiss this. I feel like there was probably some higher ups working to try to get to like a cleaner solution. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they probably got the NBA involved a little bit, and I think a 3-game suspension is good. I mean, it's not
Mhm.
the first time Isaiah Stewart has had these kind of altercations. Never before a game though, usually during a game. Famously him and LeBron got into it.
Which was on the called game
Um
right after this happened, which I thought was really
yeah, yeah, which was I thought was very funny as well. And I I don't understand when players get so heated before the game. It's like
cool.
it's all about it should be all on the court, right? Before then you're basically coworkers, even though you're coworkers that work at a different building in the same
Right.
factory. You know what I mean? So it's like unless there was some beef beforehand, but Isaiah Stewart's like a young guy, Drew Eubanks not it's not like they knew each other from beforehand, but anyways, I don't know what happened or what was said, but
Yeah,
no
we haven't
one
been
should
filled in on the context of
yeah,
this.
no one should hit anybody for no reason in the tunnel before a game. And, I think 3-game suspension is punishment enough. I'm sure the Pistons will try to do something regarding that as well. At
Drew
least you'd hope
Eubanks said
so.
like nice 9 wins or something, and Isaiah Stewart was like, "Well, what'd you say? Ha ha ha! Let's go."
I gotta defend my team. Um, Yeah, so it's a very interesting situation that happened, but he did get suspended, and I don't really think getting like it is basketball related. I feel like with a lot of stuff that happens basketball related, it doesn't nothing gets taken out to like courts, state courts, federal courts. It usually stays within the context of the NBA. So I think suspension and probably a fine is more than enough. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the overall result is whatever. A suspension, you know, we have to look at it maybe from like a Draymond standpoint at some point. Like you mentioned the LeBron game, against when he kind of like was like a raging bull trying to stampede over LeBron, and then this clearly probably some loss of temper or something going on, some anger management. So hopefully it doesn't become like a regular thing for him. You would hate for a guy like that who has shown flashes to have his career kind of sustained as like, oh yeah, that's that guy that hits people and is angry and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Yeah, I don't love the optics of like it being a court case and like mysteriously it's dismissed. That looks bad. And I
It
don't know.
doesn't look strange. Like, I wonder why it went to the court in the first case. Usually, the person who is the defendant, like Drew Eubanks, would have to be like, "I want to press charges,"
Right.
right? And then if it gets dismissed, either like the NBA or the Phoenix Suns are like, "Drew, just let it go, man." Like, I don't know if it was like that or what. It really there are a lot of circumstances that happened, but again, like I don't love the fact that it went even that far, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place either. And I think suspension and a fine is like a good punishment. Like if it was worth like a sucker punch is one thing, but it's like if it's like a full on brawl, that's another. When you get other people involved, innocent people involved.
Yeah, I feel like, we've talked about crime too much on this basketball podcast. And like, you know, player accountability and such. And it's like I
Yeah.
wonder if this situation happens between, two fans, what the result is. Um, and if it's different because they're just NBA players. I don't know.
Yeah, which I totally agree. Like, if there's two fans, I'm sure one of them's pressing charges. Like, it is because that's also outside of the context of the game. Like, this, at least you can kind of argue is about the game, even though it happened before the game, which is weird. But two fans get into it during a game. That is like, someone gets seriously hurt. These are civilians. It is such an interesting dynamic when you really think about um you know not saying that like what NBA players get away with because that's not this is in my mind so small considering what other things we've talked about that are very very serious,
Right.
where this is just like a punch in a tunnel. But anyways, I it is shady. It's weird that it just got dismissed, but it's not like he didn't get any punishment because of it. So he will get repercussions, and hopefully he learns his lesson, doesn't become like a Draymond Green thing where it just throughout his whole career he has stuff like this happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough about drama.
Yeah, let's get into just some players that got signed to new places.
There's a
Old
lot of
faces, new places,
there's a lot
and
of
also same places.
signings. There's a lot of like 10 days and two ways and
Yeah.
stuff that happened, and I was like, not worth mentioning. But there's a couple I thought that were worth talking about. So
Yeah, like Danilo Gallinari, who is signed with the Bucks, which I think is very good for the Bucks. They need shooting. He considered the Clippers, Cavaliers, and Bulls as well. I think he fits right in with the Bucks. They're contending and they need shooting. And yeah, I feel he could have fit in with the Cavaliers and Clippers as well. Bulls would have been really weird
I
because
don't
they're
understand
not.
why Bulls is here.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
yeah, but happy for him. Hopefully, he's a very good shooter. He's a little bit older, but he's kind of jumped around the league. I know he had an injury when he
Yeah.
was on the Wizards or Celtics. No, Celtics, and he went to the Wizards,
Celtics went to the Wizards, went to the
and then
Pistons.
and now, yeah, and he
He's
played
going
with the
all over
Pistons.
the
Yeah,
place.
but yeah, hopefully get some minutes and get some shots up for the Bucks.
Yeah, the Bucks have like five NBA players right now, so this is a worthwhile signing. It's
Yeah,
nothing bad is going to come from this. You can be worried about the injury and the age because their whole team is old.
yeah.
But you know, um, Might as well sign him. Might as well, and
Yeah,
boost their chances a
exactly.
little bit.
Yeah.
Also, DeLon Wright agreed on a buyout with the Wizards and signed with the Heat, which I thought was worth talking about. I feel like DeLon Wright is kind of an underrated guard. He's a bench guard, he's not like some sort of crazy star player, but he's a good bench guard. He's a, solid ball handler, pretty good defender for his position. And the Heat, I think he'll kind of fit in with their system. We talked about Terry Rozier being injured last time after getting traded there. Kyle Lowry, of course, left the team as well in that trade, so their guard depth was looking a little thin. So I think it's a good pickup for them.
Yeah, and good for the. I mean, Wizards are they already have quite a few guards, and I think they're kind of trying to make things work with Jordan Poole and Tyus Jones. Although Tyus Jones was in a lot of trade rumors this
Surprised he
past
didn't get
trade
moved.
deadline. Yeah, me too. Maybe he's like, I'm starting here, so I'm going to stay here because if I go anywhere else, I'm going to be a backup.
I saw a tweet
So
earlier today that Jordan Poole got benched today. He came off the bench.
really,
Yeah,
that's
so
interesting.
yeah, I don't know who started
Interesting.
in his stead, but
Yeah, I'd be interested to look into that. And also some good news for a veteran. I read this, I was very happy for him. Mike Conley on the Minnesota Timberwolves.
mm,
They agreed to a 2-year, $21.5 million contract extension to avoid losing him in free agency. So I thought that was nice. He's an older player for sure, but he's been a big part of why the Timberwolves are doing so well. He's very consistent, has a great connection with Gobert. He's been making his threes. He's been getting his assists up. He's a great partner with Anthony Edwards in the backcourt or front court. No, backcourt.
backcourt.
Backcourt. I always get confused. Backcourt, and I'm happy for him. Yeah, older guy getting the money.
Yeah, Mike Conley will continually be one of the most underrated NBA players of our era, our generation watching basketball, I think. Because the longest time he was on the Grizzlies, and he never made an All-Star game, but he was always very solid, very good. And then he made an All-Star game with the Jazz, but it was as an injury replacement. And it was kind of a wonky year, and he probably didn't really deserve it, but they're like, well, Mike Conley asked to make the All-Star game at some point. And then yeah, since going to the Timberwolves, he's really been the glue that has held them together, I think. Anthony Edwards, as good as he's been, I would say his playmaking, decision making is probably the weakest area of his game as a guard. So having Mike Conley there to do most of that and facilitate their offense, the Timberwolves have been very successful since he
Yeah,
traded to that team. So you'll love to see that. I know this will have some repercussions, I think, maybe not next year, but the year after. I think the Timberwolves with him, Anthony Edwards, Cat, Gobert, and a couple of other players, they're going to be like already above the second apron. Um, because they are
yeah.
paying those people a lot of money. So we'll see what they do. I think they'll, see how they do in the playoffs and go from there. But they're going to be very expensive, which is not common for a small market team.
Absolutely not. But I think for being expensive, at least they have the record to kind of back it up. And like
Mhm.
you said, I'm curious to see how they do this year in the playoffs and also, yeah, next year. I think you're right. It's the year after where things kind of get really tricky. And then they give Jaden McDaniels like a really nice
Yeah, he got
bag.
like
Like
5 years,
so
130 million. Yeah.
yeah, so that's a lot. Definitely a lot, but at least those are your starters, so you kind of have your starters
Helps
locked
that
in.
Alex Rodriguez bought part of the team. He probably can
Yeah.
throw a little money in
And
there.
throw some. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, happy for the Timberwolves. Happy for Mike Conley.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now let's get
Yeah,
into some stuff about coaches. Coaches.
coaching. Okay, let's do it.
So, not only did PJ Tucker, a Clippers player, get fined, Clippers head coach Ty Lue got fined 35K for, quote, public criticism of officiating and for questioning the integrity of game officials. So, I believe this was a press kind of thing, like an interview, a quick interview. It happened right outside the locker room after the game. A game that they won, by the way, against the Warriors on Valentine's Day. I believe it was 130, 125. And I guess they were asking stuff about the game outside the locker room, and he was like, "Oh yeah, something about the officiating. Who do they even have out here?" Um, and he got fined 35K for that. But I wanted to mention it. Just another knock on the officiating is the worst thing in the NBA. That I feel like every episode we have a new story about someone complaining about officiating.
It's like if enough people are complaining, especially coaches who are usually pretty, it's the players that are emotional. Coaches will try to be very diplomatic about things. If the coaches are being like this, it's like maybe try to take a closer look at it. That's my look at it. But interesting that he got fined for also something so very I know like we talked about the Darko, like that was very
Mhm.
news. Like I saw it kind of everywhere. This just kind of happened and I read about it like just on the side.
We
It's
talked
just kind of
about
the more it happens. Yeah,
the foul last time in the Rockets game. That was really controversial.
exactly.
I don't know if we ever talked about this. I'm looking at the notes and I don't see it, but I could just be missing it. There was the Anthony Edwards. He said, "I'll take the fine. We didn't get
Oh
enough
yeah, you told me
calls."
you did bring it up on the pod. I
Um,
definitely yeah,
so
yeah.
like, yeah, you had the Mike Brown showing the clips.
Yeah, it's
Like
so
there's been
funny.
so many stories this year about officiating.
It is very, we should make a list. It's so interesting. Like for our favorites to our least favorites.
We're gonna have a whole segment in the off season where Dom and I break down clips about why officiating is bad.
I am more than happy to do that. Other coaching news, Jacques Vaughn of the Brooklyn Nets, the head coach, has been fired, and then assistant coach Kevin Ollie has been named the interim head coach. So a little bit about Kevin Ollie, because I didn't know a lot about him. He played in the NBA for 13 years.
Hmm?
He won a NCAA championship at UConn as the head coach in 2014, and he just joined the Nets after being with the Overtime Elite like 2 years ago. So I thought this was interesting because Jacques Vaughn has done a pretty good job actually with everything that's happened with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant leaving, and I thought he was a really good replacement coach for Steve Nash when he left, and he kind of kept it together in the beginning of the year. Now the Nets has been kind of tanking and it's been difficult. And I read some things where he wants to play a certain type of basketball and the players don't agree with it or
Hmm.
they can't play within that system. And I think there's a little bit of responsibility on both sides where they both need to kind of compromise. And I guess that never happened. Regardless, Jacques Vaughn's a very good coach. I hope he finds somewhere he can be of service to a team, and we'll see what Kevin Ollie does with the Nets moving forward. Um,
Yeah, I hate this. I'll be honest. So, my opinions
yeah,
start from Jacques Vaughn being the assistant coach when Kenny Atkinson was the head coach before Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were there. That was the D'Angelo Russell, Jared Dudley, Jared Allen team that was like really fun. And then it was all ruined by Kevin Durant. But Jacques Vaughn was an assistant, and Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving go there. And Kenny Atkinson's the head coach. Kenny Atkinson basically gets fired because he didn't want to start DeAndre Jordan over Jared Allen because DeAndre Jordan is old, but he is like friends with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. That's why he went to the team. So they were like, he has to start because he's our friend. And Kenny Atkinson's like, yeah, but Jared Allen's a good basketball player, so actually, can I start him instead? And then Kenny Atkinson, basically, there was other reasons, but that was like one of the big reasons he got fired because he wasn't bending to like the superstar will, essentially. And then Jacques Vaughn was named the interim head coach. Stays there, does fine with them. They hire Steve Nash because that's who Kevin Durant wanted. He was like, I want Steve Nash as the coach. Um,
and he worked with him at the with the Warriors. That's why.
Worked with them with the Warriors, yep. And then they have their little thing. Uh, they playing. James Harden gets himself traded out of there. And then Steve Nash gets fired. Kevin Durant and Kyrie get traded. And Jacques Vaughn again becomes an interim coach, does fine. And then they said, you know what? You did so fine. We're actually just make you our head coach this time. And then now, a season and a half later, basically, he's out the door. So I think it's just an example of kind of a scapegoat of what the Nets are going through. I think for me personally, this feels more like a GM problem. Sean Marks, who orchestrated all of this Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden stuff, trading all their picks and all that. Um, I don't really know what you expected from the Nets. Their best player is Mikal Bridges, who I think is probably, on like a championship contender. We're probably talking the third best player. Really good player,
Absolutely.
but probably the third best player. And I know like there was some news that one, he almost got traded to the Rockets. Because the Rockets offered the Nets their picks back, basically for Mikal Bridges. I would have loved that. I don't care about the Nets
Yeah,
picks if I get Mikal Bridges on my team.
absolutely.
Um, but I think I know he was on I think he was on a podcast or something, or he had an interview with somebody. but he said like, yeah, we don't like have a system that's clear. Like I'm kind of unsure what to do, like from a night to night basis, how our offense is running. And obviously that is a coaching problem, but like you thought this guy was worthy of being an assistant coach and an interim head coach multiple times. I don't know if firing him is the answer. Like after he was, so loyal to your program. And he did that to Kitty Atkinson too. And he fired Steve Nash. Like the coaching carousel in Brooklyn has been crazy. So
And
yeah,
player carousel. I mean, and player
yeah,
carousel. It's
their
kind
their
of all
their
over the
whole
place right
team the
now.
last, I don't know, 5 years is just going nuts. So I didn't like really that any of this happened. I think there was a lot more issues with the Nets than the coach. I think, like I said, I think the GM is an area of interest there. But yeah, like you said, hopefully he finds a job. Kevin Ollie seems to be liked. Hopefully he does fine too, not wishing
Yeah,
him
absolutely.
bad. But yeah, I think this is a general manager owner problem more than a coach problem.
Yeah, and it's not even like the Brooklyn Nets are that bad. Like they're 11th right now in the standings, 3 games behind the Hawks, and they have solid players, but they're not in a position where they can be a winning team, and they're also not in a position where they should be a losing team. So it's like,
Mhm.
what do you expect from the coach? So I agree with you. I think it's more of a issue just trying to figure out how to make this work after all of these people have left and or been fired, whatever. Um, but yeah, I wish the best of luck to them, and hopefully they find out what they're trying to do. But you know what it's time for?
What's the time for?
It's time for us to break down the All-Star weekend.
Okay, we're gonna
The
go
people have
through.
been holding their breaths this
I
whole
know.
time.
Listen to us talk about absolute nothing. Actually, I mean, it wasn't nothing. It was, stuff that's kind of relevant. But I know,
Yeah, it's All-Star, it's right before All-Star. We already talked about the deadline. So now it's just some little like new stuff. Like I find that stuff more interesting sometimes than All-Star weekend, but this All-Star weekend was we got a lot to talk about.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say we're gonna go through and recap, and then we'll give
Quick
our
recap.
opinions.
Yeah, quick recap because
Let's talk about what happened first, and then we can
yeah.
talk about how we feel about it.
Yes, let's do that. All
But we
right,
will
sounds
be
good.
talking about how we feel about it.
Absolutely. I know Damon has something he didn't type it up, but he has it all in his head. He's ready to
It's
just
all up here. I'm boiling with excitement.
all
We had
right.
to
Well,
we had to postpone a day, and I was like,
let's recap this real quick. You
Can I?
want to start us off?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, having the All-Star
Yeah.
game in Lucas Oil Stadium is stupid. It's a football stadium. I've been to a football game. It's where the Colts play. Um,
Yeah.
I've been to the Texans game. Sitting in the nosebleeds, I can't tell what the hell's going on in a football game. So having a basketball court that's much smaller than a football field is insane. Just put
I
it in a
did
basketball court.
I didn't even know it was in a football field.
This
That's
is a
crazy.
football field. People just sitting
That's
so far away
crazy.
have no idea what's going on. Like
Yeah. No way. They're probably just looking at the screens up top. And I mean like that's just
that
not the
defeats the
same. I
purpose.
Yeah, I've been to SoFi, which is a football stadium
Yeah.
here, and even then, like the whole point of that
And
stadium was to
SoFi
have
is a really nice
screens.
stadium, though.
Well, for sure, but it's also like I can't imagine watching basketball in there. That would be. It was hard to
Yeah,
see what's going
imagine
on with
like
football.
see,
So
yeah, football is a giant 100-yard field, basketball tiny court. Like it doesn't make sense. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there because like that didn't make any sense to me. Um,
okay,
but yeah, first we had the Celebrity All-Star Game, which I watched the highlights of. I didn't watch it in real time. Um, I thought, I wanted to get your thoughts on this LED court. I don't know if you saw this. It was for they had it in the All-Star, sorry, in the Celebrity Game. They also used it for, I believe the three-point contest, the dunk
yeah,
contest, the skills challenge. It was LED. It had like effects that happened, throughout the games and stuff. What did you think of that? I just wanted to get like a quick thought of that.
for sure. So I actually just watched it during the 3-point shootout.
Mm.
That's when I noticed the LED core, and in theory, it looks cool. It looks like a video game. It looks snazzy, but I would be worried that it's too distracting for players on the court. And even I read something they interviewed Damian Lillard. He was asked about what he thought about it. He said it looks cool. I like it, but a few times I thought I was near a line that wasn't there because of the
Yeah.
LED court. So I think I know it's all about spectacle, and you have this new thing you can do with you can put lights on the court, and I think that's very cool. But you need first and foremost should be about the players, and if the players are being distracted, they can't do as well as they would do without that, then maybe rethink it. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought for something like All-Star, it's fine because it's like nothing really matters.
Hmm.
You know, bringing this into any sort of like actual NBA game would make sense, but I thought particularly for the game, I thought it was kind of cool. Um, Especially because those people don't play basketball, so that's like it doesn't really matter. I
Yeah.
heard like that it was actually like less slick and like really safe, which I thought was interesting. I would be worried it was the opposite. But I heard it was like better to play on than a normal court in terms of like the movement and such. You good? You good over there?
Yeah. We're good. We're good.
Okay. Um, yeah, I thought it was fine. I did also, I believe that was an interview with Malika Andrews, maybe, that you're referring to. But yeah, I heard like some kind of questions about it. But again, for something like All-Star, I don't think it's that serious. But it looked interesting, It was worth a shot.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but yeah, getting into the actual game though, it was relatively competitive throughout the whole time, which ended up causing some celebrities to not see the court that much because they were playing the guys that were good. It was Stephen A. Smith versus Shannon Sharp, because they're both on First
Okay.
Take together. They were like the coaches. Um, I know I think this guy's won like the last three streamer of the years. His name is Kai Cenat. He like barely played. He was like visibly upset about it. He was in like garbage time essentially, and they were trying to like throw it to him. Or he was like sitting on the court, like jumping up and down for the ball, and they weren't throwing it to him. And it was like, whatever. But Micah Parsons, who is a linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, he had 37 points and 16 rebounds. So he won MVP of the game for Team Shannon. They took the win 100-91. That's a pretty good score. Uh, there's a couple other football players, and like actors, and this random Olympian guy I didn't know, but it was fine. It was like it seemed like people actually wanted to go out there and do stuff, which I thought was cool to watch.
That is cool. I need to look at a list, but I don't think I know any of the people in the Celebrity All-Star game this year. Like, I don't think I knew anybody. I don't know who Micah Parsons is.
He's
I don't
a very
know.
good football player.
I believe that, and I don't know who that Kai guy is. I really don't think I knew anybody. I know the coaches. That's
I
about it.
know Tristan Jazz is a basketball content creator. He did pretty well as well.
Is it the blonde
A
guy that
blonde
we
guy,
saw
yeah.
it? Okay. I mean, I've seen him. I don't know him though. So I wouldn't say I know him, but
Yeah.
the Celebrity All-Star game I think is it's definitely it's definitely I could see more of a fun one, but I feel like you gotta I don't know. If, at least for me, I was like, I don't know anybody, so I don't really want to watch it.
Yeah,
But
I
that
I
was
don't know
fun.
how to get buy-in. Like how do you get people? I feel like it is often like up and coming celebrities,
Yeah.
people that just like actually want to play basketball. Like you're not gonna get like a Jay-Z out there. Oh,
Yeah,
you know who played in this game actually?
Jack Harlow, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Zach Randolph,
Oh, wait, the guy who used to be in the
the
NBA?
guy who used to be in the NBA. He was in this game for a little bit.
That doesn't make sense because it's not an ex-NBA game, it's
No,
a celebrity
he is
all-star game.
old. He is really
Yeah,
old. He was moving
that's
like
crazy.
an old man.
I know, I think like a year or two ago, Jack Harlow played and he was pretty good. They got J. Cole, I think, to play.
J.
Like
Cole,
these are
yeah.
people I know.
Mhm.
So it's like, where are these people? I guess they didn't want to do it. And you got to buy into it. But that's I guess that there's a lot going on with All-Star Weekend and stuff. But let's go into more because that's just one piece of it. Next was the Rising Stars tournament,
Yes.
which I thought was very interesting. I read some stuff about it. So the G League team, they pulled off the first round upset against Wimby and the others, and I read some stuff and I couldn't watch it. But basically what I read was that the Wimby, it was like rookies and sophomore team or something. It
Yeah.
was like four
There were
teams, like
there
a
was yeah,
tournament.
there's three rookie and sophomore teams and then a G League team.
Yeah, and you could tell that Wimby and that team really weren't playing to win. They were just kind of going through the motions. And the G League team was like, "We're in the G League. We want to show what we could
Mhm,
do." So
mhm.
they came out swinging and they won. And then in the final, the G League team didn't end up winning. Um, but it's because the I think it was Jalen Rose was the coach of the team that won because he was like, we can't let these G League people win. We're NBA players. And also Benedict Mathurin wanted to win, and he took home the MVP, which was pretty cool. And he played really well. But what do you think of the tournament setup? I think it's the first time they had like a tournament, or at least the first time I've heard about it, where you kind of have like four teams. They
Yeah,
play. What do you think about that?
yeah. This I do believe this was the first time they did this. It was games to 40 was the target score. Which I think is fine because then the games kind of went by quickly, and you can get
Yeah.
more people in there. You can get more representation, which I think is good because I do think the league is trending towards young players a lot. I don't there's not a ton of like veteran players unless you're like a star, you know. It's a lot of like young prospects. So I thought this was interesting. The team with Wimby also had Jabari Smith, our Rockets representation. He did nothing. And Wimby actually seemed like he wanted to win, but no one else on his team was really pulling through.
Yeah.
I believe it was his name was Alondis Williams. That guy in the G League looks pretty good. And then yeah, Benedict Mathurin. Shout out to you, looking like you care. Because that he was shooting so much, and just like him and Jaden Ivey had kind of like a Dion Waiters, Tim Hardaway
Oh,
kind of
really?
thing where they were going back and forth at each other. And like there's like a clip of Mathurin that was saying like, "You can't guard me. You've never been able to guard me." And then
I
like
love that.
I texted you actually that I stopped watching the Rising Stars game because I saw Benedict Mathurin let Jaden Ivey shoot a wide open three. And
Oh, yeah.
it was actually more when I went back and revisited, it was more of a goading thing. It was like a, oh yeah, you're not gonna make that anyway, so like go ahead. Because Ben McMahon was like talking trash, and then after the game, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's all love. It's just like he was drafted one pick before me, so we kind of have this little, you know, kind of rivalry sort of deal."
Yeah, and it makes the game fun. Like, I really don't see an issue with that. Like, trash talking and goading, things like that are all part of the game. And I've said this before, what I love about basketball is that you literally can go one on one with somebody. Someone's talking smack. All right, I'm going to get you on defense. I'm going to show you what I can do, right? Other sports you can't really. Soccer you can't, football you can't. This is the one sport you can. So I love that. It's a big part of it. But at the end of the day, like you said, like they're all in it. Like they're all just glad to be there and they're having fun. It's when it becomes physical that it's over the line. Like you shouldn't
Right.
be throwing swings and punches and all that kind of stuff. But words, and I mean like no one ever I think gets like crazy offensive. Like it's always just about basketball.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it was like I don't know how to phrase this, polite trash talk. Like it was
yeah,
purely in jest. It wasn't like personal insults and stuff
right.
about your family and things like that.
Yeah, which is just like that's like I think everyone by now kind of gets it's like crossing the line. There's no reason for that to kind of stuff to happen.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I like the tournament idea as well. I like the idea. I like the idea of a target points in the tournament and also getting more players on the
Hmm.
court as well. I think it's also better for the crowd. Like they don't get bored of 4 quarters of like watching people they don't know. Like this kind of like keeps it moving a bit
Yeah.
more. Or even like playing like a game. I think there's a couple of interesting things that could be added to the game, which I think we can talk about later, like things we would like to see. Because I thought about this a little bit.
Hmm.
But even like a tournament of like 3-on-3 would be really fun. There's like three friends like that who are in the NBA, and they do a little tournament like of 21 or something. I
Hmm.
don't know, or like play up to 15 twos and threes, win by two. Like stuff that we do when we're like on the court when we go play
Right.
and stuff. I think would be fun too, and or even bringing that from the All Star like the year before, where you pick your players, like you shoot for ball, you shoot for players, whoever makes it's on the team, like having a bit more like not having that as an All Star game, but having that as like, hey, watch these NBA players who are really good, have fun, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
that's me going into more like what I want to see. But next is the skills challenge.
Yes. Did you watch the skills challenge at all?
I did not. I read about it again.
I watched it. I watched the whole thing. Couple observations. So it was Indiana who was hosting. They had their team with Halliburton, Mathurin, and
Yeah.
Miles Turner. Number one picks, which was Paolo Wimby and Anthony Edwards, and then All Stars Trey Young, Scotty Barnes, someone else that I'm forgetting. I
Oh my
don't
God.
remember.
I'm forgetting to.
Who cares? Because that team sucked. Uh,
It was the one guy. It was somebody who was named an all-star because literally Trey Young and Scotty
Scotty
Barnes
Barnes
were
were
replacement
replacements.
all-stars.
Yeah,
And it was someone who's an actual all-star. Oh my God. I don't know why I'm blinking.
I don't remember.
Okay. Anyways, I'll look it up. You keep going.
But so a couple things I wanted to point out. Wimby sabotaged. So number one pick team, Wimby, Paolo, and Ants. I mentioned Wimby was actually trying to win the Rising Stars. He was actually also trying to win the Skills Challenge. I was very impressed because some of it is handling and stuff, and for his 7'4" size, he was doing a
Yeah.
great job. And then so basically the first challenge is like you have to do this dribble path. Um, you have to make a pass, you have to make a floater, you have to make a three, and then you finish it off with like a layup. It's like you go back and forth and have to do all that in like a weird order. Um, Wemby had a good time and Paolo had a fine time. Anthony Edwards goes to shoot his three and he's shooting him left-handed and hit the side of the backboard. And I was like, oh my God. And the crowd is like, oh, what's going on? Um, so he clearly was just, and afterwards he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just out here to have fun," and it was like, and then another
Yeah.
thing.
It's.
Sorry, go ahead. Let's talk about that
I
first.
all I was just gonna say is I read that and I was like, if everyone in the challenge is gonna use their left hand or their non-dominant hand, then it's fine. It's fun. But if you're the one guy that's like, hey, watch me do this with my left hand, I'm like, are you left-handed? No, then don't do that with your left hand. Like,
Yeah,
why? Like, why?
it gets into something that we'll talk about later, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and then
Anyways.
I mentioned the previous pod, maybe two pods ago, about Scotty Barnes and how I watched him miss four layups during the skills challenge like a couple years ago when he was a rookie. This guy gets the ball. I think the first thing you do is pass. You like make a pass, and then you dribble like around these little obstacles they have.
Yeah.
And his first right to left cross, the ball just flies out of bounds. He just dribble it straight out of bounds. And I was like, this guy is an all-star. I think deservingly. I think he is.
Yeah.
I'm like,
He's
he
great.
can't
Yeah.
dribble the ball. It was crazy. And then a lot of guys like the dribble obstacle, they were going the wrong way, and the ref would like literally stop them, and they're like, nope. Go back. You got to do it again. It was just a mess. It was an absolute mess, but it did end in a fun way. The Pacers ended up taking home the trophy, the hosting team. By the way, all three of them looked like they wanted to win. Mathurin, Halliburton, Miles Turner. Like Miles Turner, I don't think made a single mistake the entire skills challenge. Like he did everything like really well. But Tyrese Halliburton ended up hitting. It was a tiebreaker, I believe, with the All-Star team and the Pacer team because they had like won the same amount of challenges. So then the All-Star team, they were shooting half-court shots. They had like a rack of balls and they were just shooting and it was like timed. And they made it in like
Yeah.
46 seconds. And then the Pacer team went after and Tyrese Halliburton made it in like 30 seconds. So they ended up winning,
Nice.
which was whatever.
Um, the other all-star was Tyrese Maxey.
I forgot.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just letting you know. That's why I looked it up. Yeah. So skills challenge. I don't hate this challenge. I like it when they take it seriously, um, a bit more. Or if if you're gonna do something fun, then everyone is in on it. Then I think that makes it fun for everyone. Next, we're gonna talk about the 3-point contest. So it was Trey Young, Tyrese Maxey, Cat, and Damian Lillard and Tyrese Halliburton.
Not Tyrese
Uh,
Maxey. That guy was not in the three-point contest.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, Tyrese Halliburton. Excuse me. I just saw Tyrese and I thought Maxi because we just talked about him.
Yeah,
Steph Curry was not in it because he was doing the one-on-one against Sabrina Ionescu. So
yes,
just
there were
letting
more
people
people.
know.
These are just the people that got the amount in the first round. There was also Malik
Oh,
Beasley,
Malik Beasley. Malik Be of course,
Laurie
the GOAT.
Markkinen, um, somebody else that I'm forgetting. I think I don't know. Dame.
Well, anyway,
We say Dame.
I said Dame. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so in the first round, Trey Young, Halliburton, Cat, and Dame all got 26 points, and then Halliburton lost in the tiebreaker.
The
Damian
tiebreaker is
Lillard.
stupid, by the way. The
What is the
tiebreaker.
tiebreaker?
So the 3-point contest is 2 rounds. It's like 7 people, and then the top 3 scores go into the second round,
Hmm.
and then whoever has the
Hmm.
highest score wins. Um, and 4 people had 26, so they did a tiebreaker. The tiebreaker was just they started the time, and you had like 30 seconds instead of the whole minute, and you just shot as much as you could in the 30 seconds. I just thought, just put all 4 of them in the second round.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
cares?
that makes a lot more
Like, just
sense
put
to
another
me.
person in there, and you'll figure it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
But
sense.
so Damian Lillard ended up winning back to back. He scored 26 again.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mentioned earlier, he talked about the LED court and said it wasn't like too bad or distracting, but it was a little weird. Sometimes lines would show up that he didn't know were supposed to be there. But I mean, do you have any? Oh, Jalen Brunson was also in the 3-point contest. But anyways, he didn't win. So we're just talking about Damian Lillard. And
Yeah,
yeah, anything else?
I this part of the night I think was maybe the best in the All-Star weekend because it looked like all these guys wanted to go out there and shoot the best they could. It was exciting. Like there was no bad people. I think Malik Beasley maybe had like 20 or 21. Like he was the lowest scorer in the first
It's
round.
still not bad. Yeah.
But everyone else was 24, 25, 23, and then the 26s. And the way that Dame won was cool because he started off not so hot, and then he hit like a bunch of shots to catch up at the end to tie, and then ended up kind of doing something similar in the second round to win. So
Very
it
cool.
was exciting to watch, and I actually really like a couple years ago they added like the long 3-pointer. So it's 5 racks, and
Oh,
then they
right.
have
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
long one in between, like on the top of the key. They have 2 of them on the left and right
yeah.
side of the center. Um, it's sponsored by Starry now, so it's called
Starry. Yeah, I was just about to
The
say.
Starry 3-pointer or whatever. But I like the addition of that. I think it's pretty cool.
I think that's cool too. It gets to show off their range. So if someone is a really good 3-point shooter, they have a chance to show off their range using those shots. Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And then after
Um,
that was the Sabrina versus Steph, which may be the coolest part, honestly.
I think yeah, this was probably the highlight of the contest this year. I've always liked the 3-point contest. I think that one is the most out of all the other contests. It seems like that's the one everyone takes seriously, and it's also the most objective. I think compared to everything else, like
Yeah,
you either make the most 3-pointers or you don't.
right.
Like dunk contest is so like, was it cool? But like cool is so subjective. It's like I don't. What's cool to me isn't cool to you. You
Yeah.
know. So this one was I when I heard they announced this, I didn't really know who Sabrina Ionescu was, but I know she played for the New York Liberty. And I watched this, and she started off so well. She drilled like her first 6 shots. It was crazy. She kind of cooled down a little bit, and Steph was like the opposite when he went up. And he only won by 3. It was 29-26.
Mhm.
But I thought, well, what I didn't like is that how short this was. Like this was like a 10-minute event, you know?
Yeah.
You don't know how, there's really no way to stretch it out, but I was like, the highlight was so short.
Yeah, so I was doing some research into this event, like why these people, obviously Steph
Hmm.
is regarded best 3-point shooter ever. He has the highest score in the 3-point contest ever. I think it's like 31 or something like that in the
Yeah.
NBA. The maximum with the starry range, and you get to make one of the racks an entire money ball rack. I believe the max scoring here is 40. And I was curious about Sabrina Ionescu and her shooting, and I looked at and I realized something. She has the highest score ever. She's 37. And I looked at it and I watched it, and it's nuts. The when she had 37, obviously it wasn't this event, but it was in a recent WNBA All-Star event. She missed her first shot, and then she made 25 of the 26 remaining shots. It was absurd. I was like, holy moly, that's crazy. What I also really loved about this is that Sabrina did not back down. She shot from the NBA 3-point line, which is much longer than the WNBA 3-point line. And she said, I want to shoot from the NBA 3-point line. And then even after the event, she just said, shooters just shoot. It doesn't matter what gender you are. And I was like, that's great. And going
Love
against
that.
Steph, the all-time, everyone knows Steph. The Steph is the guy, the 3-point guy. Only, scoring 26, that's exactly what Damian Lillard had to win the event. And I mean, that's just great to see. And like you said, it was a little short. It was just one round of two people shooting. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, make it a best of three or something,
Yeah, I think
something
that would
like
have been just yeah. Also, maybe instead of just like threes, you could also do like mid-rangers, maybe half court shots count. Like I feel like with that, you really could have had some more fun with it. Like it didn't have to be just 3-point shooting. Although I get like they're doing like the best 3-point shooter in the WNBA, best 3-point shooter in the NBA. So I get why they did that, but I maybe they can learn from that, have more fun with it in
and
the future.
how do you turn it into a sustainable event? Because obviously Steph is mid 30s, Sabrina's much younger.
Yes.
How do you have something like this happen for multiple years at a time? I'm not sure. Maybe it becomes a 3-on-3, three shooters from the WNBA versus three NBA shooters, something like that. I think can be kind of
I
interesting.
was I was just about to say that, literally. I think that would be really fun, and I would love to watch that. And
And maybe it's like a
and
total
not
score, like
yeah,
WNBA versus
exactly.
NBA kind of deal. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, see, like that sounds cool. That sounds pretty cool. I'd love to see that. But anyways, yeah, this was great. This yeah, Steph Curry won. He's the best shooter. We get that. Let's talk about the dunk contest. Did you
Do we
watch all
have
the
to?
dunks?
I watched all the dunks, unfortunately.
Um, yeah, I
Fire all the dunk contest judges right now.
Yeah, okay, that too. Because I remember Jalen Brown did one, and the crowd started booing,
Dude, the
and
crowd hated
I
Jalen
didn't
Brown.
understand.
They
Yeah, and
hated
I
him.
guess yeah, I was not wowed. And again, like it comes back like personally, I've never been a huge fan of the dunk contest because to me it is so subjective
Mhm.
and you can add little things here and there. You can dunk over Shaq,
Dude,
ooh,
you can dunk over Shaq
or
every year because it happens every
yeah,
year.
or you could put a glove on and then dunk. And I'm like,
Okay, do you know the purpose of the glove though?
yeah. I read about it, and I it's because no one people said he can't dunk with his left
He
hand,
can't
right?
dribble with his left hand. That was like a big thing in the when they lost in the finals to the Warriors. Uh,
Yeah, so
so
yeah,
that's
so
kind of
put him on the
funny,
left
but
hand. It's
silly.
funny, but it's silly, and also yeah, I mean, I'm glad Mac McClung won, but I also hate that he's not even in the NBA.
Dude,
Like
I
it's
will say
so
though, the Mac McClung dunk where he grabbed the ball, let it go, and then re-grabbed it and then dunked it, that was cool.
yeah.
I was like, that I've
That's
never seen that. That was cool.
That's what I was gonna say was the one I remember him doing. I think he jumped over Shaq as well, but like again, like who cares?
He by the way,
Um,
he cleared Shaq. He did not touch that guy. He went
yeah,
and
yeah,
he's like shorter than me.
yeah.
So
No, it's he definitely has he's got hops. But again, like I talked about this in the last pod, and like he's not even on the NBA. Like I
I
don't
think it's
know. I
okay though. I think it's okay because this guy's not in the NBA, but he wants to do it. He comes up with creative things for it. It's like his shot for people to see him because he's not in the NBA. And Jalen Brown, who's an all-star, was not very good. So, like, if we're gonna put guys in there that are not very good, I'd rather see the G League guy that's gonna go out and put on a show. Now, I know that doesn't always happen. We had dunk contests where Cassius Winston, who's not in the NBA anymore, he was on the Indiana Pacers doing the dunk contest. His dunks were not very good. So it's not always going to be a hit, but like, just put people that want to do it in here.
what I meant more was that which I totally agree with you. What I meant more was that like this guy is in the dunk contest. He's this good. He should be on an NBA team. Was
Ah, I
kind of like
see.
what I meant. Like, yeah, but it's like there's just so much talent. I get why he's not. So that's where I was going with that. But
Jalen
no,
Brown shouldn't have been in the finals.
yeah.
Jacob Toppin had a really good dunk that was
Yes, the
undisputed.
one under it was like
It was
yeah.
good. It was a
It
good
was
dunk.
really good, and they did not give him the props
Yeah,
he
the
deserved.
I mean that goes to what you mentioned earlier with the subjectiveness.
That's the one thing I don't like about that.
And like I said, fire the judges as soon as you said something because I think the lowest dunk score is like 46. Every dunk is like, oh, that was in between a 46 and a 50. Like, give somebody a 30 if they do a crappy dunk. I'm
Yeah,
like,
and
just
also that's why is it so high? Just do
why is
one through
every dunk
five.
so high?
Yeah, or
I don't
yeah, or
understand. Why are
like
they all
if it's
50s?
yeah, or like okay, or just do one through. What I mean, like 1 through 5. Like one is really
Oh, I
bad,
see what
five
you're
is
saying.
really good. Like this is why do they have to be at 50? Like I'm like that was more like a 27.6. Like what the
And
like why?
let's get some new people, okay? I know
Oh wait,
Dominique Wilkins is a legend. I know he's an awesome dunker. The guy has been doing the dunk contest judging for 20 years. And
although wait, I want to clear up real quick. So is it 5 judges and they all say it's 1 through 10? And
Yes.
then they add, oh, okay. So my bad. Yeah, so it should just people should just give out fives more. It should just be less,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Just be
Everyone's
like,
giving
oh,
eight,
that dunk
nines, and
wasn't very
tens.
good. Okay. It's literally
Yeah,
eight, nines, and tens, and maybe a seven here and there. Like
that's
every single
ridiculous.
dunk.
Some aren't that good.
We
Some
mean.
and yeah. Anyways, okay. Mac McClung won. Good for him. Let's talk about the All-Star game.
Oh.
East versus West. Can I before we get into like what happened, can I tell you about my thing about the All-Star? It's very short, it's not a lot, but I think this is what the big issue was this year. This was like
Let's hear
the
it.
thing. This was the thing that ruined it for me.
Okay. The thing that ruined All-Star Weekend.
Why are their names under the numbers on the back of the jerseys? The jerseys were so cool. They
The
were
jerseys were really
pinstriped
good.
and so cool. And then they turned around and I'm like gonna cry. I was like, why? I was like, I would love to get a all-star jersey. And then I saw that. I was like, absolutely not. There's no way I would ever wear that. Why are they doing that? Stop it. I couldn't stand looking at it. I stopped watching it. I'm not even lying. I was like, why is Lillard under 0? That doesn't make any sense. I hated it.
Is that,
Anyways,
I have a lot of issues with All-Star Game. I don't know if that's
that's number one.
the number one issue.
That's number
Um,
one, man. But yeah, so the All-Star game, East versus West, back at it. The West was stacked, and they didn't look like they cared at all. Did anyone look like they cared, Damon?
I can't talk about this until I talk about this because when I talk about this, it's going to become a whole thing.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do a recap, and then you'll tell me everything. So
Uh,
basically, the East won. They did a record-breaking 211 to 186. Dame took home the MVP with 39. He took 3 half-court shots, which is
he,
insane.
he made 3 half-court shots. I don't know if he took
Oh,
more than
sorry.
that, but I was watching. I didn't watch the game because I refused to watch it. I was like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you saw
But
the jerseys. You were like, no way.
I saw the jersey and turned it off. But I was watching the game and I was watching the highlights rather, and Dame literally 3 times during this game just walked up with the ball at half court and just pulled it and, and made it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Cat scored 50 off the bench. LeBron didn't look like he cared. He played 14 minutes, and there were only 3 fouls called in the whole game. So now I want to give the floor to Mr. Damon Gibson because he is going to tell me the problem with All-Star Weekend.
the real problem with All-Star Weekend. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. I am gonna go on a tirade here. It's gonna come all from the top. It's gonna be messy. It's gonna be rambly. Sorry, listener, if you don't
Just
understand the words that I'm saying.
just make sure to speak clearly and because I want to understand every word that comes out of your mouth.
Okay, we're gonna get perhaps explicit as well. Here's
Okay.
here's the problem with the All-Star Weekend. The players don't fucking care, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absurd. It is absurd. Okay, I go back and I look at previous All-Star games, and people just want to be the best. It's an honor. I'm one of the 24 best players in the NBA. I'm gonna go out there and put on a show for fans that are here to see the best players in the NBA. I want to be the best. I'm here with the other best people. Let me be better than them in the All-Star game, in a competitive environment. Now, I'm gonna tackle some things that I've heard on other podcasts that I've read that I imagine are some theories that I want to debunk them right now. Okay, um, a concern I hear a lot: players don't want to get injured. Fair. There's a lot of NBA season left. Most of these players are on playoff teams. They want to compete in the playoffs. That's fine. That's fair. There's 82 games in the regular season that you got to play through that are much more competitive than this and much more risk for injury in those games. Playing one All-Star game, you don't have to. I'm not asking people to get out there and elbow each other. I'm asking to care a little bit because the amount of points, 200 to 11 to 186, is ridiculous because no defense is being played. People are just out there taking free shots, layups, dunks, whatever, because nobody cares about the game. Um, So you want to, I understand there's slightly an injury concern. There's an injury concern every time you walk onto an NBA court, regardless of scenario. That's just part of your job, and you show up to do your job. Another thing I want to talk about is, we mentioned the in-season tournament, the incentive of $500,000, I believe it is, for players on the winning team. So we want to incentivize people for the All-Star game. Well, let me tell you this, okay? People in the All-Star game are making 30, 40, 50, $60 million a year. They don't need more incentive. Their incentive should be to be the best. They're playing one NBA game is more than my yearly salary. Them playing one NBA game is probably more than all the people at All-Star Weekend that are there to see them play, and they don't care. They make more than all those people, obviously. So you don't need incentive. You already made millions and millions of dollars playing a fucking child's game, shooting a basketball into a hoop. The least you can do is actually care about doing that. You don't need an incentive. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, give me more money or something like that for the All-Star game. I really liked couple years when they had the Kobe Elam ending 24 points in the fourth quarter. Each quarter, money would get donated to charity. That's fine. That's money going to charity is great. I love that. I don't think we need player incentives because these guys are already making a ridiculous amount of money to play a game, literally a game, a child's game. That's stupid. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about is location. Okay, I hear a lot of complaints. The last three All-Star games, this one was in Indiana. Last year was Indiana. I did not say that correctly. Last year was Salt Lake. The year before was Cleveland. Yes, I understand it's February. These cities are cold. People maybe not don't want to go there because it's like, oh, it's not Vegas, it's not LA, it's not New York, it's not these kind of big cities. Okay, there are still NBA fans all across the country. There are still NBA fans in the city. This is probably the only time Indiana is going to have an All-Star game in the next 30 years, 20 years, at least. So all these people coming to see you are not going to be able to do that for another several years in this sort of event where they see all the good players in one place. Yes, I understand it's a small market. Yes, I understand you don't get a vacation like you might want in a big city. However, again, the amount of money you make paired with the fact that off season for the NBA is like 4 months already, you have plenty of time to vacation stuff. Playing through the 82 game season, you don't really need like a mid-season vacation. I think you can live with going to All-Star Weekend in a small town market. And I think those fans deserve your effort just like an LA fan or a New York fan would too. So I really hate the argument that we need to have All-Star Weekend in large cities because there's 30 NBA teams for 30 markets that all love their team and love the sport and love basketball. So the least we can do for those people that never get to see us because even when, some teams have star players and they go to a small market city like that, those guys might sit out and that's the one time that they're there in the whole season. So the least you can do is show up to All-Star Weekend when these guys are never going to get to see you again, basically, in their lifetime, unless they're much, much older. The least we can do is care. So that's the number one problem for me is the players don't care, and the NBA has tried for years changing things to get players to care. And I think the players are complaining about a lot of things that I personally do not see as problems. I think, you go back to the 90s where players are making much, much less money than this, but they're showing up because they just want to be the best at what they do. And I think that is incentive enough to go show people that, you know what, I'm the best player in the NBA. I'm going to show out the All-Star weekend. I think the last good All-Star game was the 2020 All-Star game right before the pandemic. Um, it was after Kobe's passing. It was the first year of the Elam ending. That game ended like 159 to 158 or something like that. It was really competitive. Kyle Lowry is taking charges down the stretch. James Harden was playing like elite defense, like trying to stop them from scoring, because they cared and it was fun and it was great for everybody to watch and everybody really cared about what was going on. And that will fix everything because if the players care, that'll make the fans care, and if the fans care, then the NBA will profit and all that good stuff. Um, but I think, people that are not me and you that are only tuning in to All-Star Weekend and the playoffs, you tune in to All-Star Weekend and you hear people are talking about how, they don't play defense in the NBA and stuff. And then you watch this, it's hard to argue. And I think it makes the product look worse. I think it'll make people care about basketball less. Because if I'm watching a sport where people don't care, why am I supposed to care? And there's also, there's already that argument made about the regular season with load management, stuff like that. So having this kind of showing at the All-Star game where it looks like everyone's playing horse basically and is shooting kind of crazy shots and No one really looks like they want to be there. It's just a disaster. Props to Cat for scoring 50 because he was actually trying, and no one was stopping him. I thought he should have won MVP even though the West lost, which they shouldn't have because their team was so much better in comparison to the East, like you mentioned earlier. But yeah, and the East probably just cared more. You know, they have guys that have more to prove. They have Halliburton who's playing at home. Dame, I feel like, is one of the few guys that always puts on a show. I know LeBron, he only played 14 minutes. He was out on the game before the All-Star break, and he was out the game after All-Star break, so maybe he is dealing with something. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, the players just need to care, and the players should care because there are people all over the country that want to see you. There are LeBron fans everywhere. There are, you know, whatever All-Star, name the All-Star, random All-Star. There's fans of that player everywhere, and they want to see you play, and they want to see you try, and they want to see you care. So do it for that person, because you're already making 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 million dollars a year. So the least you can do is show up, play the damn game.
I honestly couldn't have said it any better myself. It was great. I agree with everything you said. Um, I I do wish there was just a way to make these players care. I don't know if it comes down to like maybe older Hall of Famers talk to them or like the coaches talk to them and they're like, I don't think you understand. You're being voted in as one of the top 24 players in the world to play basketball. And like, this is your chance for you to show the world compared to these other 23 why you deserve to be there. And at least from the years I've been watching, recently, they never look like they do, which is just unfortunate. Like you said, because people pay a lot of money just to be in that stadium.
Right.
People take time out of their days to watch this game for children. Like you said, it's like the least you could do is just have fun, like for sure, but care. Because that's the formula that makes basketball as a great of a sport as it is, because it is really fun to play, but you have to care. I think a target score would help a lot, like you said.
This is the first year they hadn't had it in a while. They'd had it the past several
Yeah,
years. I think part of getting the reason for or the part of the reason for eliminating the draft and going back to East West, eliminating the target score is because it hasn't worked in the past couple of years. So they were trying something to
yeah.
kind of reinvigorate it, and it didn't work again. And I know I've heard even that the NBPA, the Players Association, had talks with the players that were like, "Look, we got to go and like show out." And there was some sort of understanding that that was going to happen, but clearly it just wasn't
Mhm.
there. And I think caring will lead to fun as well. Obviously, I want the players to have fun, have a good time, but like
Yeah,
I I really don't like the stance that it seems like, oh, I hate that I have to be here because the players that aren't all stars are, vacationing right now or with their families or blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, but you're an all star and you're being celebrated in an event where you're like basically, everyone's like, oh, look at these great players. Yes, let's watch all the great players play basketball. This is going to be so awesome. And it's treated like a hassle and like it's tedious rather than like an honor, like it should be. And it's just ridiculous to
yeah.
me.
I was gonna say also like reactions to being called an all-star have really not gone, so I think about right after the game the Knicks played, it was like Knicks versus I can't remember who, but Jalen Brunson was called an all-star, and he's like they're interviewing him right after the game, telling him he became an all-star, and he starts like tearing up. I'm like, that's the emotion like that everyone should have. Like, LeBron gets called for his 20th all-star game, and he's like, yeah, I know. It's like, come on, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I wish they cared more too. I don't know. I don't know how to fix that. I think changing some of the things would. I already was thinking of like what are some different events you could have at the All-Star weekend to make it more fun. I thought a game of horse would be really cool. Because that's also just like fun. And also you could just see like what people could do. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the issue with horse is something that I guess is hard to watch, like like how often are you making your ridiculous shot in like the first attempt? you know, or you like just watching people miss a bunch. And it's hard to watch live. It's like something that's easy to edit, and then it is more entertaining to watch like via YouTube. But watching it live is like, oh, you have, this person trying to shoot from behind the goal, but they miss like three times, and then everyone's just like kind of waiting. You know what I mean? That would be like my only concern with
Yeah,
that.
I
You
could see
mentioned
that.
3v3 tournament earlier. I think that would be cool. Maybe even if, you said like friends in the NBA, even if it's just like a big three tournament, like you pick three players from your team, like
Yeah,
that can be kind of cool. And you have like I don't know, it's a lot of teams, so maybe it's first to five, and you have four of them going on it at the same time, so you kind of dwindle it down really quick. I think something like a an all-star using the all-stars, the 24 all-stars, something like a king of the court could be kind of fun, where it's like one-on-one, and if you lose like that possession, like king of the court is like me versus you. If I score, I stay on the court. If I
and
don't
then
score,
yeah,
I
I
leave.
rotate out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like you kind of rotate through the all-stars that way. That's, whoever stays for, yeah, maybe it's a 15-minute event, and whoever is on the court the longest amount of time is like declared the winner or something, something like that.
or like knockout. Knockout's super fun. Like
Knockout,
that's
yeah,
quick
knockout
game.
yeah. I mean, stuff like that
Yeah,
literally, like you said, kids do for fun. Let's watch you have fun. Let's watch you care, and that will make it fun for the viewers. But it's so obvious the body language and the way they're playing that they don't like it. Like I said, it seems like a hassle that you're there. I'm sorry you
yeah,
get paid $50 million to shoot a basketball and you have to show up because you're one of the best people at it. Sorry.
yeah. It's also just like 3 days. It's not even like that whole week,
Yeah,
right?
you still
So
get some
yeah,
time off.
and it's not like it's not excruciating NBA like 48-minute basketball. It's like you're doing some of these contests and then you're playing one game and not over and over again.
and
So
and let me tell you this, your 3 to 4 month off season based on how far you get in the playoffs, is a lot longer of a vacation that literally every regular citizen gets. They get maybe 2 weeks paid vacation, and then, time they take off here and there throughout the year. Um, and guess what they're doing the rest of that time? They're working their jobs, and they're spending their free time watching you. And yeah, so
yeah,
I know you don't want to sprain your ankle, but if you could give a shit, that would be cool.
that would be cool. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens next year, I guess. At
And put
least
your names
now
above the jersey. Come on now.
and do that. I mean, that's the easiest thing to fix. Just do that. I don't, if this trend continues, I don't know how I'm gonna boycott. I don't know what I'm gonna boycott, but I'm gonna. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I'm getting very frustrated talking about that. That gets me more passionate than just the All-Star game being like not good. Because it's so easy to fix. Anyways. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited now. Like the league is going to be a lot more competitive now. Everyone's going to start trying to win a bit more. Some teams are going to try to start losing
So
more.
some teams are
At least,
going to try to lose.
yeah. So at least we'll start to get to know like where everyone is at, and Lakers are going to lose this game, but
Is
that's
that
okay.
so?
Yeah, they're down 19. They already have like with 4 minutes left, both teams put in their like they put in their benches and stuff. So um
Ooh. It's okay.
it's
Skylar
okay.
Skylar Mays will carry you to the promised land.
Skylar Mays is there and he is carrying them to the promised land. Thank you. Yeah, but this was nice to catch up on all that stuff. I'm excited to see what happens this week and what happens in the league, and we'll start dissecting all that stuff very soon. Awards are actually coming up soonish.
Awards. We're gonna have a playoff bracket. We'll kind of pick who
Yeah, we'll
goes
do
and
all
win.
that.
That's
I
always fun.
do you think you're gonna go to another NBA game this year?
That's a good question. The closest arena, of course, being San Antonio. I'm not sure when I'll have to look and see when the Rockets are in town again. Because I saw
Yeah,
Spurs Rockets earlier. Maybe spring break for me for my school is coming up in a couple weeks. I don't know what my plans are, but maybe part of it can be venturing down to Houston, going to a home game since I went to so many last year. I went to like 20 Rockets games last year, and I've been to none, which is so sad. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I feel like you kind of already mentioned you may go to another one, huh?
Yeah, the Kings are going to be in town on Sunday to play the Clippers. Might go there root for the Kings. The last game of the season for the Clippers is against the Rockets, so I
Mm.
might have to go to that game. I think it's on a Sunday too.
Yeah, well,
So
we'll see how the seeding looks. They might rest our whole team.
yeah, but I can just go there and root for the Rockets and have something to do on a Sunday.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
At
yeah,
the
yeah, that
post church, of
yeah,
course.
absolutely. Yeah, there's if there's any teams I still want to see this season play, it's like the Kings, the Timberwolves. Seeing the Lakers again is probably not going to happen just because tickets are so expensive. But at least I could go root for the Timberwolves and the Kings. Be cool.
Perhaps a Clippers playoff game in the near future.
Perhaps depending who they're playing. Maybe we'll see who they end up playing against. But if it's not too crazy, I know I went to the play-in game against the Pelicans was super fun. The game against the Suns, that was like the first round of the playoffs. Not as fun, but still a good game. The play-in just felt more like win or go home, so
Right.
that was really cool.
Maybe if the bracket
Yeah.
breaks right, we can get like a Clippers Mavs rematch.
Oh my, that would be awesome. I would actually, Mavericks is on my list. I don't know if the Clippers are going to be playing the Mavericks again this year, and those tickets are a bit more because there's kind of a rivalry, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited.
Ugh. All right. So
All right,
let's do the
well,
dreaded shot.
do the shot. Come
I
on, you
mentioned
gotta make the
something about
shot.
does anyone watch this part or listen to this part? And at work the other day, Jared was like, Damon, I listened to the shot. I was like, okay. I was so confused, and he was like, the thing. And I was like, oh, I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
I
of
see.
course.
I was like, what are you talking about? I'm
All
trying to.
right, here we
I gotta
go.
get this angle right. I always get the angle wrong. It's so hard
I
not
believe in
looking.
you. I got you. You got this.
Oh, that angle is really good. It
That
was a little
angle was
short.
good.
A
It was
little
strong.
short.
Next time you'll make
I
it.
haven't made this in 20 episodes. I made like
I
two
know
of the
you
first
made two in the
six,
beginning. I was like blown away. This is crazy.
and it's
But
just getting harder.
yeah, it's hard being the best.
Thank you for listening. If you made it this far in the podcast, hopefully you enjoyed our breakdown of All-Star Weekend news and such. We forgot to mention this at the top, but please do like the video on YouTube, 5 stars on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, comment, suggest things, give us feedback. No one ever does, but I'll say it every single episode to like and comment or whatever, share, send it out to your peeps. I think we're getting, like 8 viewers an episode on YouTube and 5 listens on Spotify or something like that. So, our numbers are rising from
I'll take it. I
our
love that.
our
Thanst for listening.
our one listener to now, I guess 13. Although
Hey
one of
man,
them
I'll
is
take it.
me, one of them is you probably. I think you
Probably
listen
a
to
little
it.
bit.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
think our numbers are included us as well. So
Hey, it still counts. It's all that matters. But yeah, I just want to say thanks again for listening and let us know what else you want us to talk about next time. And until next time, this has been Two Man Game with Damon and Dom.
nuggets.